actually very exciting for me to ring the gong at the City Club. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today for this lunch. A very, very special thank you to the City Club for hosting PRSA Cleveland for their Business in the Media event. A special thank you to IABC, Cleveland Plus, Rick is here, Liggett Stash Hour and Goldstein Group for being sponsors of this event, as well as the Akron Press Club. As a board member of PRSA Cleveland, a program committee member of the City Club, and the chair of the Business in the Media event this year, I thought what better trifecta to bring all of it together than to host an interesting conversation around the evolution of the media here at our Citadel of Free Speech in Cleveland at the City Club. So thank you, Jim, again, for hosting us. When I said yes to chairing Business in the Media, immediately I thought, media has changed. What is media today? And it's changed for many of us as communicators to understand how to talk to our audiences and how to reach our audiences through new vehicles, whether it be the web or broadcast or the radio. And then through our partnership with Cleveland Clinic and NBC and GE, I thought, wow, what better organization to have come and talk to us today about the evolution of the media business, but NBC Universal. So I was thrilled to have Jay Linden, who through 28 years of experience in the media and at NBC, say yes to coming and being our featured speaker today. Jay is the Executive Vice President of Strategic Partnerships, and I think you'll hear today he offers some extremely unique insights into the business and the ways that he has sort of formalized relationships and partnerships, try to understand how to communicate to audiences and really formalize what is a strong partnership on the business side as well as on the media side and the earned side. So with great pleasure, I will introduce you to Jay Linden. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank all the sponsors and Erin in particular for inviting me. Good afternoon, everybody. It's interesting, when I thought about what to call this talk, I couldn't decide whether to call it Managing the Media Revolution or Surviving the Media Revolution. But what Erin asked me to do in my talk this afternoon is to talk about how my company, NBC Universal, is shifting its priorities in this ever-evolving world of technological innovation and consumer choice. And choices clearly abound. Look how many devices probably got turned off in the last 5 minutes. But it's not only in terms of devices, it's in terms of content, how to consume the content, where do consumers want to get the content? Do they want it on their TV? Do they want it on their PC? Do they want it on their BlackBerry, on their cell phone? Do they want it on their microwave oven? I mean, there are refrigerators with screens in them. And what is it that consumers want? What is it that creates what I like to call, when I'm trying to get a producer to do something, value for the viewer? And is there a way to do well from a purely commercial, and when I say commercial, I mean a business point of view, while at the same time maybe even doing something that is good in the higher sense of the word good? So shifting our priorities may not be the best way to explain what we're doing in our business. What we're doing is adapting our business model, our portfolio, and our go-to-market approach. And we're doing all of that to make sure that we remain profitable, relevant, and viable as a business, as the choices and preferences of our viewers and our online users and our customers, the advertisers, evolve. That's really our priority. The fact is that all these choices and platforms have multiplied. We've had to shift our focus from a go-to-market approach, from a purely ratings-driven currency, which is what we trade on, the size of the audience, the age and sex of our audience. That's what we use to transact most of our business, to one that takes smaller absolute audiences, both on air and now online, and infuses them with new value. Accountability and insight are emerging and are currencies. And we're also innovating by making the creative resources inside our company available to customers to a degree that we never have before. We've let advertisers actually borrow the equity of our brands for a small fee and let them integrate that value to enhance their brands. And I'll show you some examples. So here's our company as it exists today. It's a lot of logos, it's a lot of brands. I haven't counted them, and later on, if you want to ask me about some of them, hopefully I'll be able to tell you about them in some detail. But I've been in the media business, and I used to say that I was in the television business for almost 40 years, 28 of them at NBC. When I started out, it was pretty simple. There were three, actually 2.5 networks. There was NBC, there was CBS, and there was ABC that was just starting to emerge. It was pretty simple. And in big markets, there were some independent stations. And really, that's all there was. In a few towns, and they were mostly small towns, there were some local cable distribution systems so that areas not served by their own stations could import signals from the nearest big city for local viewing. I went to school in one of those towns, Ithaca, New York. In fact, for a couple of years, I actually anchored the local TV news in Ithaca. Cable television in Ithaca started in 1954. And in 1970, the cable system had actually penetrated 95% of the market. It was the only way to get television in Ithaca. And my local newscast, sponsored by the local supermarket, actually followed Walter Cronkite's show. Pretty amazing. What I didn't realize, being from New York City, was that all the homes that were able to see my show were actually paying my boss, who owned the cable system, for the privilege. He was getting not only the revenue from the supermarket, he was getting revenue from the viewers for the right to be hooked up as well. The business model that today provides about 60% of NBC Universal's profit was just getting started in towns like Ithaca, New York, almost 40 years ago. More about that in a minute. So I left Ithaca, I went to Syracuse University, got my master's, went to Boston, where I was a producer at the NBC affiliate. But after a time, I realized that that wasn't the life for me because I'd met the salespeople. And their job was pretty simple. I hear salespeople laughing at the table over here. Their job was really pretty simple. Their job was to go out and talk to the advertisers and their agencies and get them to spend money for commercials on the station. Seemed interesting to me, but I was just a kid. I was 24 years old, and Boston was too big a town to start in. So I quit, and I went to Albany, New York, where I got a job selling television time. I moved to New York. I spent some time selling for a group of stations all around the country at a company called Telerep, and I found my way to NBC in the early 80s. Things were pretty bad at NBC back then. There were only 3 networks, but we were in such bad shape in terms of programming that we might as well have been 4th. In the mid-'80s, everything started to change. It all started with The Cosby Show, then Cheers, then Hill Street Blues, then St. Elsewhere. And then in the 90s, we had must-see TV. We had Friends, we had Seinfeld, we had ER, and we had The West Wing. Pretty iconic brands in television. In 1986, NBC was acquired by General Electric. And after that happened, in 1989, NBC launched our first cable network, CNBC. And it was followed in 1996 by our challenge to the only news cable network at the time, CNN. We launched MSNBC and our first digital platform, MSNBC.com. Our chairman, whose name was Bob Wright, who came from GE but who had also worked in cable television, he saw the future. He was truly a visionary. And he knew that the week-in, week-out programming dominance of big tent network television and the enormous margins of our owned and operated television stations were history, as the choices available were going to be history, as the choices available to both viewers and advertisers multiplied. In fact, at that time, we actually owned WKYC here in Cleveland. In 2002, we acquired Telemundo to get a foothold in a fast-growth market, the Hispanic television market. And then in 2004, NBC merged with Universal, and in the process, got operating control of USA, Sci-Fi, Universal Pictures, and the Universal theme parks. And later, the company bought Bravo and Oxygen, and just last year, we took over operating control of the Weather Channel. Each of these cable networks came with the dual revenue stream, cable subscription fees, and advertising,